Welcome back. My next guest says 100,000 self-managed super fund trustees will soon be contacted by the Australian Tax Office. And this sounds scary. And to see why the ATO is sending out please explain notices, or are they? We have Peter Burgess from AMP SMSF. Pete, how are you?
Good, thanks, Peter.
Now, come on, why is the Tax Office scaring all my constituency in the self-managed super fund space?
Well, it's probably not as scary as you're making it out to be, Peter. This is more...
The media are exaggerating? I don't believe that. Is that possible?
Well, this is more about a call to action, I would call it, more than a...
Call to action?
Please explain. This is all to do with SuperStream.
Yep.
SuperStream is a government initiative designed to improve the efficiency of the superannuation sector.
Yep.
So, among other things, what this will do is introduce new rules around employee contributions. So, employers that make superannuation contributions will have to comply with new rules. And superannuation funds that receive those contributions will also have to comply with new rules. Now, for self-managed super fund members, well, compared to APRA fund members, so if you're in a large fund, self-managed super fund members actually have to take some action here, actually have to do something before the 31st of May. If the
31st of May is the key date, right? Yep.
Yes, if they're receiving an employer contribution from a medium or large employer, so more than 20 employees, then what they need to do is to get an electronic service address for their fund. So they need to obtain one of those for their self-managed super fund and then advise their employer of that by 31 May if they want to ensure that it's not disrupted.
So I've got probably 40 employers and I'm an employee to my company. So I'm involved here. My in-house accountant is going to have to do a bit of extra work.
Well, I should say that one of the exemptions is a related party, a related company. So if you control the company or own the company, then you don't have to comply with these new rules.
That's compassionate. That's small business.
Well, they're thinking of you.
Compassionate. Yeah. That's very good. That's a very interesting question, because there are a lot of people in that sort of situation that can have even 21, 22 employees, but they still haven't got that administration grant. So tell us why they want to do this.
Well, this is about improving the efficiency of the way contributions are paid. So consistency in the information that's being provided to the fund, improving the timeliness, so speeding up the payment of contributions and so forth.
Will it mean that the Tax Office will know when employers aren't making payments?
Well, they'll have more information, that's for sure, than they perhaps have in the past. But this is about contributions going to the fund, not so much contributions being paid to the ATO or anything like that. So it's about speeding up the process by which contributions are paid, and that's a good thing. You know, everyone in the industry agrees that we need to, improve.
Why is it so slow now?
Well, I think we've got checks. So some employers, and it may be you, I don't know, writing out a cheque every quarter for their superannuation guarantee contributions or salary sacrifice contributions, writing out a cheque, sending that cheque to the fund. Now, in this day and age, electronic day and age, we should be able to move to that. And so this is what this is all about, moving the superannuation industry into the 21st century, if you like, and making sure that everything is electronic.
Now, sure, the ATO runs self-managed super funds. So they must believe there's going to be a couple of positive outcomes. Now, one is, of course, the money, I presume, is going to go into self-managed super funds more efficiently.
Yes.
What's the payoff for the Tax Office, do you think?
Well, it's also should result in less lost money, so that's another benefit here. But this is very much about improving the speed. It's not so much about what the ATO can get out of it, it's more making sure that money ends up in the superannuation accounts quicker than it has in the past. And as I said, doing away with lost accounts and so forth, and making sure that contributions, when the super fund receives it, they know who it's for. So these new rules, in addition to the money having to be transferred electronically into the bank account of the fund, there needs to be an electronic message go with it as well. And that message identifies the contribution, what type it is, who it's for. So it should eliminate situations where perhaps the fund is not sure who the contribution is for. So for self-managed super funds, what's interesting here is they do need to get an electronic service address for their fund. The question is, how do they do that?
Is that presuming that they're working for a medium or bigger business?
Yes, there's different timeframes here. So if the contribution is coming from a medium or large employer, so more than 20 employees, then these rules will apply from 1 July this year. If it's a small employer, so less than 20, it will apply from 1 July next year. But remember, any related companies are excluded from this. So that's the time frame.
Okay, right. So the headline I used, using the word scary, probably out of line, unnecessary.
Well, I guess it's scary in some ways that if they don't take some action. So if they have a self-managed super fund and they are receiving contributions from a medium or large employer that's not a related employer, then they'll need to provide an electronic service address, which is new. They need to provide that to their employer by the end of May to give the employer enough time to adjust their systems. If they don't do that, they run the risk that their superannuation guarantee payments to their fund or their salary sacrifice contributions, which may be paying into their fund, may be disrupted.
Okay. What other news have you got in the self-managed super fund space?
Well, we've seen just recently Multiport, which is a company that specialises in the administration of self-managed super funds, one of the largest provider of self-managed super funds, administration. They do a quarterly survey where they take a snapshot of around about 2,000 self-managed super funds that they administer. They look at the investments and they track changes to the investment allocation. So I guess some of the interesting things that we found from that research this time around was cash continuing to decline in self-managed super funds. I don't think there's any real...
No, they're being rational and they're less scared. It's an indication of less fear.
So, low interest rates and self-managed super funds looking to get a higher return. So I don't think that was a surprise. But what was a surprise is where that money is going. So it's coming out of cash. A very strong swing to international equities in the last quarter of the financial year.
That's highly rational.
Well, we've seen a lower dollar and so forth, and that market is performing quite well. So in the December quarter, very strong swing to international equities. During the course of last year, saw a swing towards Australian equities, which again was not surprising. Overall, direct property, pretty stable, pretty static.
So it's not becoming the nightmare of all these horrible self-managed super fund people going to auctions and stealing houses from first-home buyers?
Well, not from what we can see. What we did see in the statistics, though, is that those that do hold direct property, there is a greater proportion now borrowing to acquire those properties. So we are seeing that, but certainly not out of control.
Does it also differentiate between whether they're buying residential or commercial? Because I'm being told that most of the purchases by self-managed super funds are small business people buying a commercial property that they're probably operating out of.
Yeah, that's true. We are seeing certainly a lot of that commercial property, and because of the tax benefits in doing that, being able to lease that property back, to a related party and so forth. So that's very true. Yes.
All right, mate. Well, thanks for joining us, and that's a very important observation. Thanks very much for joining us.